TM celebrated its 25th anniversary in 1999, and what better way to celebrate this milestone than to have MTH make some I Love Toy Trains freight cars for them. They look really cool, but that's just a starter for what's to come the following year. Or another year. So, Part 7. In this video, TM had recently built this O-gauge high rail layout, and it's my favorite layout from the studio. I love that camera angle shot with the Southern Pacific Daylight speeding by, and the Empire State Express, and Dreyfus Hudson passing by each other underneath the signal, with the smoke cascading out of their funnels, which was beautiful to look at. Both of these shots were amazing! Wait a minute, I just realized something. I think this must be the same O-gauge layout as we've seen before in Part 6. We've previously seen this layout as a seemingly basic setup, and all the track around the layout was just plain Lionel O-gauge track. But here, they've gave this layout an upgrade by adding significantly more detail to the layout. They gave the layout more buildings, more accessories, more operating signals, more operating switches, and a little bit more everything in the attention of detail. Not super detailed, but detailed enough. They even replaced the Lionel O-gauge track with MTH high rail track, including the ballast that was spread underneath it. They made this layout look convincingly realistic, and like I said before, this is my favorite TM Studio layout. I'd said it once and I'll say it again. This is my favorite TM Studio layout, especially the backdrop they have used from behind. Usually, it was just a dark blue screen backdrop they would use most of the time, making the layout look like it was nearly nighttime. Sometimes when they made the layout pitch black, then it really looks like it's nighttime already, or sometimes when the layout has a different background in the dark blue screen. Anyway, in later videos, this layout will have a little more detail and accessories yet to be added onto here, so we'll talk about it a little bit more later when we get to parts 8 or 9. I like some of the green screen effects of Jeff sitting inside the I Love Toy Trains boxcar, and then we see him driving the Southern Pacific Daylight in the cab, plus at the end of the video too. They're all really cool effects. I like that. I also like this MTH train layout located inside the MTH headquarters building, made by the owner of MTH Trains, Mike Wolf, with the O-gauge Premier Line trains running around the outside loops, Rail King trains running around the inner loops, as well as some of the standard gauge trains, the ones that are reproduced by MTH, running on the upper level of the layout around the Lionel headquarters building and across the Hellgate Bridge. It was a spectacular layout, and it's such a shame that the MTH building had closed down recently since Mike Wolf had retired and was no longer taking part in the model train industry anymore. You can check out more of Mike's layout in the Great MTH Layouts Part 1 video. I highly recommend it. Part 7 has got some really cool segments in there. They have the impressive LEGO train layout from the Greater Midwest LEGO Train Club in Minnesota. This LEGO layout had some stellar detail around it. I like the locations that they built, like the mine, the passenger stations, the carnival, the baseball game, and the roundhouse. Some of the motorized units looked really cool on there, like the dump truck and bascule bridge, which was reminiscent to the Lionel bascule bridges. And not to mention some of the detail they have put into the locomotives. Well, mostly for the diesels anyway. But I do like that Thomas the Tank Engine and troublesome trucks that they built running around the mining area. I wish TM would ask permission from Hit/Mattel or Britt Allcroft at the time to use some Thomas merch for their videos, maybe even as a segment in one of their videos. Anyway, I think this layout seems to be ahead of its time, and today we've seen some more impressively detailed LEGO train layouts than ever before. This video also had the Grand Canyon Railway, with a train that takes passengers on a 60-mile journey from Williams, Arizona to the world-famous Grand Canyon, one of the most incredible and amazing landmarks in North America. Look how huge it is! I think it was yet another tourist attraction that I would like to add onto my bucket list. Most of the footage from the Grand Canyon Railway were taken by the aforementioned Berkshire Productions. Coincidentally, the footage is also seen in a Shining Time Station Christmas special called "'Tis a Gift." Awesome! How about that? There's also the Pokemon bloopers segment. As anyone who is a fan of Pokemon would probably enjoy these segments, I'm not because I wasn't into Pokemon that much as most people were, but but I still found the segments to be quite funny and random. Trust me, I was laughing at them simply because on how stupid they were. Probably the only time that TM had used video game characters in one of their videos. I wish they would use Sonic or Mario characters in another toy train video. Also, the flute trotting track makes a return in this video, which hasn't been heard since part 1, the very beginning of the I Love Toy Train series. The Streamliners segment was really neat. I do like seeing all the models of streamlined steam locomotives, although most of them were made by MTH from the Rail King line, with one being made from the Premier line. From Commodore Cornelius Vanderbilt, there's the New York Central's Commodore Vanderbilt. From Henry Dreyfuss, there was the Dreyfuss Hudson and Empire State Express. They don't have the Mercury in there because an O-scale model didn't even exist yet until Sunset Models had made one a few years later, which is featured in part 11 of the series, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Other streamliners from other railroads like the Milwaukee Road's Hiawatha by Otto Cure, the Pennsylvania Railroad's Torpedo by Raymond Loewy, the Union Pacific 49er by Wayne Owens, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, and Jeff's favorite, the Southern Pacific GS4 Daylight, specifically the engine that's number 4449 built by the Lima Locomotive Works. A lot of these engines look so impressive and graceful as they run around the high rail layout. Amazing. But what about the Norfolk and Western J number 611? Why is she not featured in this segment? Oh well, at least it's cool to see all of the streamliners in here. Speaking of steam locomotives, this video also had the segment about the days when steam was king, with several clips of preserved steam locomotives from Berkshire Productions, and this video was the only time where we hear some dialogue from James Coffey himself as he narrates about the good old days when steam used to be huge, gorgeous, fire-breathing monsters that were kings of the rails. Normally, when you hear James Coffey, you hear him singing about some train songs that he had wrote, but in here, you can hear him talking and narrate about some steam locomotives, and his narration is so pleasing to the ears.
How I love those great steam engines from long ago. My grandpa used to tell me about them. How you could hear the roar of the engine 30 minutes before the train even got there. How the smoke poured from the stack, and that marvelous choo-choo sound. And the whistle. When Grandpa hears the sound of a steam engine's whistle, he closes his eyes and can see that great steamer turning round the bend and pulling into the station just as clear if it was happening right now in front of him. Grandpa grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. He would sit on a hill and wave at the engineer as a train sped past, and the engineer would always wave back. When steam was king in America, when fire-eating monsters rode the rails, and the 505 was right on time.
The Mickey Mouse Meteor, a Marx train set for the Walt Disney Company, is really cool. It's got that Disney theming all around it, with Disney characters like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, Pluto, Goofy, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and so much more decorate around the set. As for the songs, there are counting those railroad cars, Railroads of America, and Streamliners, which were all earlier versions of the songs, and to be honest, I prefer the re-recorded versions of those songs a little better, because they sound more lively to listen to in my opinion, and they're probably a bit of a step up compared to how they sounded in here. Part 7 is a cool video overall. It's not the best video of the series, but it's not bad either. It's still nice to watch. The Pokemon segments are hilarious, the Grand Canyon Railway was a fun tourist train ride, the road to the world-famous Grand Canyon, some gorgeous-looking streamliners talking about the good old days when steam locomotives used to dominate the rails, and that awesome Lego train layout by the Greater Midwest Lego Train Club. Long story short, it's another good video. See you tomorrow for Part 8, everybody. It'll also be the video released around the same time during Line L's 100th anniversary. That'll be something special.
2, 3, 4. Daddy, can we count some more? 5, 6, 7, 8. Here comes another one a pulling freight. 9, 10, let's start again. Here comes another one around the bend. I'm just counting those railroad cars. One,